When most people imagine Archangel Michael, they see a warrior in shining armor standing over a dragon with his sword raised. But that image is only the final layer of a much older mystery. Before Michael became the celestial knight of medieval Christianity, before churches were built in his name on mountains and cliffs, and before occult orders invoked him as a guardian of sacred space, he first appeared as something more subtle. He was a prince of the invisible world, standing behind the history of nations. And there is a strange detail. The Michael of the Bible is not always shown with a sword. He was not originally described as weighing souls. Many of the symbols now attached to him emerged gradually across centuries. Religions, liturgies, mystical schools, and systems of ceremonial magic. So, who is Michael, really? Is he a celestial being, a symbol of divine order, a solar intelligence, a guardian of initiation, or all of these at once? His name gives us the first key. Michael comes from the Hebrew question, Mikail, usually translated as, who is like God? It is not a claim that Michael is equal to God. It is a challenge directed against anything that attempts to occupy the place of the absolute. His name confronts the tyrant, the rebel, the inflated ego, and the spiritual imposter with the same question. Who are you to take the place of that which is beyond all things? This is why Michael's power is never merely brute force. His strength comes from alignment. He does not fight to glorify himself. He fights because something has violated the order he serves. The earliest biblical portrait of Michael appears in the book of Daniel, especially chapters 10 and 12. Empires are rising and falling. Israel is under pressure. The visible world seems to be governed by kings, armies, and decrees, but Daniel is shown another layer behind history. Nations appear to have spiritual princes, invisible powers connected to their destiny. In this unseen conflict, Michael is called one of the chief princes, and later the great prince who stands watch over the people of Israel. This marks a decisive development in angelology. History is no longer merely human. Earthly events mirror conflict in a higher realm. Kingdoms have rulers below and spiritual counterparts above. At this stage, Michael is not yet the universal dragon slayer of later art. He is the heavenly defender of a threatened people. Before he becomes the warrior of the cosmos, he is the guardian of a community in crisis. During the period known as Second Temple Judaism, the invisible world was described in increasing detail. Texts associated with the Enochic tradition speak of named angels, rebellious watchers, heavenly books, cosmic judgment, and conflict between powers of righteousness and corruption. Michael appears as a high-ranking angel connected with protection, mercy, and the destiny of the righteous. Then the Epistle of Jude presents one of the most mysterious scenes in the New Testament. In Jude, chapter 9, Michael disputes with the devil over the body of Moses. The passage is brief, and its full background is not preserved in the biblical canon. Yet its most important detail is Michael's restraint. He does not condemn the adversary through his own personal authority. He says, "The Lord rebuke you." This is not weakness. It is the core of his symbolism. Michael possesses power, but he does not claim the throne. He confronts evil without imitating its arrogance. Once again, his name becomes visible through his actions. Who is like God? The most famous image of Michael appears in Revelation, chapter 12. A woman clothed with the sun gives birth, while a great dragon waits to devour the child. War breaks out in heaven. Michael and his angels fight against the dragon and its angels, and the dragon is cast down. Later, art transformed this into the familiar image of a winged warrior crushing a serpent. But Revelation is doing more than describing a supernatural duel. The dragon is connected to deception, accusation, persecution, and the power that tries to devour what is about to be born. That symbol remains powerful because it reflects something deeply human. Resistance often becomes strongest when a new life is trying to emerge. It could be a new vocation, a new conviction, a new spiritual identity, or even a new degree of honesty. Fear, self-sabotage, and opposition can intensify precisely at the threshold of transformation. The dragon appears where something fragile is trying to become real. Tell me in the comments which symbol you most strongly associate with Michael. Is it the sword, the scales, the armor, or the dragon? Your answer may reveal which layer of his mystery speaks to you first. As Christianity developed, Michael's role expanded. He became known not only as a defender, but also as the commander of the heavenly host. Yet this created a theological question. If angels exist within hierarchies, where does Michael belong? Pseudo-Dionysius described 9 angelic orders, and within that hierarchy, archangels are not the highest rank. Yet Michael leads the celestial army. This tension becomes easier to understand when we separate rank from function. The word archangel can name a technical order in one system, while also describing a supreme angelic prince in broader religious language. In Eastern Christianity, Michael became the Archistrategos, the chief commander of the bodiless hosts. In the Latin West, he gained additional roles as protector of the church, guardian of sacred places, companion of souls at death, and figure of judgment. This is where the scales enter the story. The Bible does not originally introduce Michael as the angel who weighs souls. That image developed through later Christian tradition and medieval art. In scenes of the Last Judgment, Michael often holds a balance while souls are weighed, sometimes as demons attempt to drag the scales downward. The weighing of the dead also appears in older cultures, including ancient Egypt. But visual similarity alone does not prove a direct line of borrowing. What can be said is that medieval Christianity found in the scales a perfect expression of Michael's deeper function. They represent measure, discernment, justice, and the separation of truth from illusion. The scales reveal that Michael's battle is not only military, it is also moral. His sanctuaries reinforce the same idea. Monte Gargano, Castel Sant'Angelo, and Mont Saint-Michel place him on mountains, cliffs, inside caves, or at boundaries between worlds. A threshold is never only a door. It is the place where one order ends and another begins. It separates the sacred from the profane, an old identity from a new one, and embodied life from the unknown. Michael stands wherever transition requires protection, courage, and judgment. Jewish mystical traditions preserve other dimensions of him. In some sources, Michael is associated with the right side, mercy, protection, or the defense of Israel. In later Kabbalistic and liturgical arrangements, he appears among the great angels surrounding the sacred presence or protecting the human being in prayer. Yet these correspondences are not identical in every school. One tradition may emphasize mercy, another may emphasize direction, and another may emphasize guardianship. Serious study must resist the temptation to turn one system's map into a universal law. The same caution applies to Islam. Mikail is recognized as one of the great angels, but his image is often very different from the militant Mikail of Western art. Islamic tradition commonly associates him with rain, nourishment, and the provision that sustains life. Before we continue, I have prepared something special for you that could make a real difference in your studies. I created a teaching method inspired by 12 of the most influential works in Esotericism and transformed them into 12 educational documentaries designed to help anyone understand these concepts more easily and learn how to apply them in everyday life. You will also receive a complete collection of supporting materials, including your own personalized artificial intelligence agent. You will receive lifetime access, along with a 7-day money-back guarantee in case the program is not right for you. Get access now through the first pinned comment or by scanning the QR code on your screen. Take advantage of our special launch offer. Now let us return to the topic of the video. The deeper function may be the maintenance of divine order. Sometimes order is defended against rebellion. At other times, it is preserved through mercy, fertility, and provision. The sword and the rain are not necessarily opposites. Both protect life from chaos. Now the iconography can be decoded. The sword does not represent only violence. A sword divides. In esoteric interpretation, it becomes discernment, the power to separate truth from fantasy, devotion from fanaticism, will from impulse, and spiritual authority from spiritual vanity. The lance concentrates force into directed intention. The armor represents integrity, the ability to enter conflict without becoming possessed by it. The wings indicate movement between different levels of reality and freedom from a single perspective. The dragon is more complex. In world mythology, dragons are not always evil. They may guard treasure, embody primordial power, or represent wisdom. But in Mikail's Christian iconography, the dragon is primarily the apocalyptic adversary. It represents chaos, accusation, deception, rebellion, and the force that seeks to devour what is being born. Then there is Mikail's posture. He is usually standing vertically while the dragon lies beneath him. Verticality connects what is above with what is below. It suggests alignment between the human world and a higher principle. The dragon coils and disperses, while Mikail stands centered. The image is not simply good, standing over evil. It is order, standing over disintegration. This is why Mikail became so important in Western esotericism. Renaissance magicians, Christian Kabbalists, Rosicrucian currents, and later ceremonial orders placed angels within systems of planets, elements, directions, divine names, and sacred geometry. Mikail was frequently connected with the sun, fire, the south, protection, or spiritual authority. The correspondences vary. One system emphasizes the sun, another emphasizes fire, and another emphasizes a ritual direction. Esoteric systems are symbolic languages with their own internal logic. In Golden Dawn ritual, for example, Mikail helps organize sacred space so that the chamber becomes a miniature cosmos ordered by elements, directions, and divine names. This also explains his presence within the symbolic world of initiatory societies. It would be inaccurate to claim that all secret societies worship Mikail or share a single hidden doctrine about him. Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, Martinism, Christian chivalric orders, and ceremonial magical fraternities are not one tradition. Their teachings differ, sometimes radically. Yet Mikail can serve three recurring functions. First, he guards the temple, whether that temple is a lodge, a ritual chamber, a community, or a purified interior life. Second, he guards the threshold where every desire and identity must be tested. Third, he represents consecrated power, which is strength placed in service to a higher order. This matters because spiritual knowledge can inflate the ego just as easily as it can transform it. Symbols, degrees, and rituals may be mistaken for true realization. Mikail's name interrupts that inflation. Who is like God? That question is the hidden blade inside the symbol. From the perspective of spiritual anatomy, Mikail can also be understood as a function within the human being. This does not require anyone to deny his objective existence. A believer may understand him as a real celestial intelligence. A psychologist may see him as an archetype. An esotericist may see both interpretations as true on different levels. Internally, the sword becomes discernment. The shield becomes boundaries. The armor becomes moral coherence. The scales become conscience. The sun becomes the organizing center of the personality. The dragon becomes disordered force, fear, compulsion, accusation, or the desire to dominate. Mikail becomes the principle that restores hierarchy within the soul. This may be the most practical meaning of the entire tradition. Most people imagine spiritual warfare as a struggle against something outside themselves. But the more dangerous conflict often begins when a person mistakes anger for courage, certainty for truth, or personal desire for divine command. The false Mikail is easy to recognize in others, but difficult to recognize within ourselves. He appears whenever sacred language is used to justify cruelty, superiority, paranoia, or an obsession with enemies. A person may speak constantly of light while becoming possessed by hostility. The true Mikail does not merely defeat the dragon. He defeats the temptation to become dragon-like in the process. Some Christian groups have therefore debated Mikail's identity. Certain traditions associate him closely with Christ or view him as a pre-incarnate manifestation of Christ. Others reject this interpretation, insisting that Christ is divine while Mikail is a created being. His exalted functions help explain the controversy, but similarity of function does not settle the question of identity. Different churches read these texts through different theological frameworks. So what does Mikail ultimately fight? He does not fight only Satan. He does not fight only demons. He does not fight only the enemies of a nation or a church. He fights every force that attempts to usurp the center. He opposes power that wants to become absolute, knowledge without humility, strength without wisdom, accusation without mercy, spirituality without truth, and ego disguised as divine authority. This is why his name is more important than his armor. Who is like God is not merely a challenge aimed at a cosmic enemy. It can also be directed inward. What within me is trying to become absolute? What fear rules me as though it were God? What desire demands obedience? What resentment has built a throne at the center of my mind? If Mikail is only a distant heavenly warrior, the symbol remains magnificent but remote. If his pattern is also reflected within us, then the story becomes personal. And now the sword from the beginning appears differently. It is still the weapon of the celestial commander, but it is also the line we must draw between courage and aggression, conviction and fanaticism, mystery and superstition, authority and domination, light and fascination with our own power. Perhaps this is why Mikail outlived every empire that tried to claim him. Jews saw him as Israel's defender. Christians saw him as heaven's commander and the guardian of souls. Muslims saw him as the angel of provision and rain. Mystics saw him as a protector of sacred space. Magicians saw him as a solar and fiery intelligence. Initiates saw him as the guardian of the threshold, and all of them, in different ways, encountered the same principle. Power must remain aligned with that which is higher than itself. Do you see Mikail primarily as an objective celestial being, a spiritual archetype, or both at once? Share your view in the comments. The most valuable discussions begin when different traditions speak without trying to erase one another. If this deeper and more careful approach to esoteric symbolism is valuable to you, leave a like. It helps serious content reach people who are tired of sensationalism and are searching for something more substantial. And as the sword returns to its sheath, the final mystery remains. Mikail's greatest victory may not be that he destroys the dragon, but that he can stand above it without becoming it. Subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who studies symbolism, mysticism, or spiritual tradition, and continue with the playlist that will appear on the screen in just a moment. Every symbol in that playlist is another doorway into the same invisible architecture, and the next one may reveal a part of the mystery you were not expecting to find. Have you ever noticed that the more you study Western esotericism, the more fragmented everything can start to feel? One book leads you to another author, another symbol, and another tradition. Before long, you have a growing collection of videos, PDF files, and notes, but no clear understanding of how everything fits together. That is exactly why Esoteric Atlas, 12 Classics Decoded, was created. It is a documentary-style self-study program that guides you through 12 foundational works by Aleister Crowley, Helena Blavatsky, Eliphas Levi, Manly P. Hall, Dion Fortune, and Israel Regardie. Each 45-minute lesson follows the MAP method. First, you map the author and the historical context. Next, you analyze the central symbols and teachings using clear, accessible language. Then you put what you have learned into practice through guided reflection, journaling exercises, and focused study prompts. For every book, you will also receive an illustrated e-book, a detailed mind map, a specialized glossary, and a guided journaling worksheet. That gives you a total of 48 downloadable study resources, along with a custom AI study companion designed to help you clarify difficult ideas and explore meaningful connections between the teachings. You do not need more disconnected information. You need a map. The first 100 students can receive lifetime access for only $49.99, protected by a 7-day money-back guarantee. After that, the regular price will be $99.99. Explore the complete curriculum and view the current offer through the link in the description. You will receive immediate lifetime access, and your purchase will be fully protected by a 7-day money-back guarantee. Start seeing the deeper structure behind Western esotericism with Esoteric Atlas. And do not leave just yet. I have put together an organized playlist so you can continue your journey right here on the channel. Click one of the playlists appearing on your screen right now, and I will see you in the next video.